Hello, hello. I see people coming in. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello. We're going to wait a little longer for people to tune in before we start. Hello, hello. Where are you all from? Denver. Hello from Denver. Hi. I'm in the Netherlands. And I think, oh, that goes really quick, but that's a lot of US. It's all in the US. Michigan, California, Georgia. Hi, everyone. Missouri, Germany, and the UK and Scotland. See, we have an international crowd. Very nice. Hello, everybody. My name is Birgit Koopsen, and I'm here on behalf of Gelli Arts. And thank you, Michaels, for having us and doing this demo. Today, I'm going to show you how you can recycle everyday products that you would normally just toss in the bin and use them for gel printing. And maybe I should say upcycle, because it's basically waste and you're going to turn it into a tool for gel printing, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to show you that there are that you can use almost everything to create nice gel prints. So let's just start. Let me see to get my yes. So today I'm going to work with the 5x7 inch Gelli Arts Gel printing plate. There's also at Michael's one available from 8x10 inch. But for the demo, I like to use the smaller one because that fits better in the screen. As you can see, I store my jelly plate between copier paper instead of the two acetate sheets that it originally comes in. That's because if you put it back on the acetate, you might get air bubbles between the acetate and the gel plate, and that might cause dents in your gel plate. And to avoid that, it's better to store the plate between two sheets of copier paper. And I'm placing it on a sheet of also on a sheet of copier paper on my table, and I taped it down, the paper on my table, to make sure that it doesn't move while I'm printing. So first I'm going to walk you through all the junk that I collected and I use for gel printing all the time. And you will actually see that many of it is already been used very well. So let me start with, for instance, cardboard. Let me see, I'm just going to get some cardboard, different types of cardboard. So this is basically packaging material. And you get it mostly when you buy larger stuff like furniture, for instance, from IKEA or somewhere else. So you get this kind of packaging material, which creates a really nice texture on your gel plate. And between these two layers is also a really nice pattern. You can already see it a little bit. And so when you peel off the top layer, the texture gets revealed. And sometimes it comes off easily, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to get it off. So if it's hard to get your top layer off, also when you have just normal cardboard from a cardboard box, what you can do is just spray your cardboard with water. and let the water sink in for a moment. And then when the cardboard is really, the water is really soaked into the top layer, it's easier to remove. So that takes a little while. So I'm going to put this aside, but that is what I actually did with this one. So this is how this one looks inside. And that's really a fun texture to use on the gel plate. And of course you can have the normal cardboard from a cardboard box. And I'm not sure if I have it here right now. Let me see. I should have some here. Okay, so the inside of a cardboard box usually looks like this. This is from a cereal box, the inside. But if you have like also in these color boxes, usually the inside of a layer of cardboard looks like this. So you can imagine that this creates a fun texture too. Other things that are made from cardboard are the insides of tape, like packaging tape or masking tape. And I have them in different sizes. I just keep them all, and so I can make circles. And this is, I don't know what it's called, but it's the inside of sewing thread. So there's sewing thread around this, which also creates fun little circles. You can also create circles with little bottles, the bottle tops, but also the bottom. You can create circles with lids from washing detergent, for instance, or from soda or yogurt cans, or all kinds of lids in all kinds of sizes. Cork, also for circles, really nice to create circles. You can also create circles with, for instance, bubble wrap. So this is the most common bubble wrap, but you also have tiny little bubble wrap or really big bubble wrap like this. And let me see, what else do we have? So this last couple of weeks, there has been some construction work in our home, and I saved some stuff from the bin, and I don't even know what it is. So this is something, I think it was the backing of tiles, like ceramic tiles, to glue it on the wall or something. And then I have this. I have to be a bit careful with this because this is iron. Is that the right word to say? No, metal. So it's metal. So I have to be careful that there's no sharp edges, but this is to also for tiling for the edge of the wall. And then I don't even know what this is, but this was used, I think, to put a rubber strip between two glass walls. And it's something, yeah, you hold it like this, and it's something you use only once, and then it goes into the bin. But of course, I thought that I could use this, so I kept it. And then in your kitchen, you can also find fun stuff to use in gel printing, like egg cartons, for instance. And these two happen to have the same pattern, but sometimes when you get your eggs somewhere else, they might have a different pattern on the bottom. And then we have like onion nets, onion or fruit, all kinds of stuff comes in these nets, and it also creates a fun texture on your plate. And then I have some old coasters, like these were rubber coasters from, I think also from IKEA, that are perfect for gel printing. And what else do we have? Oh, in your kitchen, or when you do your groceries, you will get cookie trays. So cookie trays sometimes have like a really nice pattern at the bottom, or chocolate trays. Also fun patterns, all kinds of different patterns. I have a whole box full of cookie and chocolate trays. And then last but not least, one of my very favorite recycle materials is pill strips in different sizes and in different shapes. And these give the most wonderful texture on your gel plate. So as you can see, you really don't have to spend a lot of money on printing tools. You can find many tools in your home. So if you have a gel plate and a brayer and some paints, then all you have to do is go around the house and find stuff to print with. Of course, I could find way more products to print with in my house, but today it's all about recycling. So it's all about stuff that you would normally just throw away. So I, of course, want to show you today what the prints look like when you use these materials to print with. And I'm going to print on, this is a kind of cardstock, like a heavy copier paper, but I think Madison has a link to the Michaels website for a similar type of paper cardstock, which is really nice to print on because it's so smooth. I really like to print on smooth paper because it's very well pulling all the paint from the plate. And also there will be links to the different kinds of paint if you are interested. I'm using today paint from Winsor & Newton, which are available at Michaels, and I'm using Liquitex, Liquitex Basics, and I might throw in some golden and maybe some DecoArt or Americana multi-surface paint. So the links to those paints will also be in the chat later. Now let's do some printing. And I'm just going to add some paint to the plate. And I think I'm going to start today with the, let's start with the pill strips because they are so fun. And I'm just going to roll out my paint, and I have some cleanup paper here to clean my brayer. I'm just going to roll out the paint, and I'm not going to fill the whole plate. I'm just going to fill areas with color. And Madison and Luann are also here to answer questions. And if there is anything that might be worth answering in the live, then Luann will let me know and just interrupt me to ask questions. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat, and there are people looking at the chat to see if they can help. So now I'm just going to use these pill strips, and these are unused, so I'm just going to push the tin foil inside the open areas. I could also just leave them where they are. They would probably create a different kind of texture then, but I kind of want the circles to show and also this shape. So I'm going to use both, and I'm just going to push down my pill strip lift it up, and I'm kind of taking away some of the paint. You can see it's on my pill strip now, and I can put it down in a different area where there's no paint. And so I'm just going to transfer the paint from one area to another area. And I can also then move one color into another color and mix them that way. So the yellow is almost dry already, but that's okay. The blue is also drying very fast. Well, that is good that it's drying quite fast, because I need another layer to pick up this paint. And so I want the paint to dry before I pick it up, because if I would add paint now right on top of this, I would completely mix it, because this paint is still wet. So I have to wait for a little moment for this to dry. And I can also, if I want more color in there, I could totally apply some paint to my cleaning paper, my roll of paper, and apply it with my brayer to my pill strip, and then just stamp it on there. I can also just push it in there like this, adding some more color and some more texture. And it's a very interesting texture that you can create with these pill strips. I have to say, this is one of my very favorite recycled materials. And I'm not going to over brayer my cleanup sheets, because if I keep them like this, they will become really nice collage material too, with all the different colors. So I might just use it one more time to clean my brayer, but then I will just put it aside and get a new sheet, because this I can use to stamp on, or for die cutting, or I could even gel print another layer on top of this one and create a really nice background with that. Let me see how dry this is. This is not dry yet, but maybe now my water has soaked in. Let me see if this is easier already to remove. There we go. So when your paper is a little bit wet, then it's easier to remove the top layer. And of course, so the one that I just showed you was like perfectly clean, but I'm actually, this one, I'm going to leave some of this on, because this actually really creates a really nice texture too, because it will take away more of the paint from the plate, which I will show you later. Now, let me see if this is dry enough. It looks to me it's dry enough. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white acrylic paint and brayer it out. And I have to make sure that my layer is really thin to be able to pick up the dried paint that's underneath. So I'm kind of brayering off most of the paint, so I already can really see the pattern that I made through the white paint, and place my paper on top. So a really good rub and then I can pick it up. And so here is my print. Isn't that a cool texture? And you can even see, I don't know if you can see it, but you can even see the texture of the print that is in the tin foil of the pill strips. I think this is really cool. And my plate is clean, like completely clean, which means that I used exactly the right amount of paint to pull up the dried paint that was on the plate. If I would have used too much paint, I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Luann?
I did. So Birgit, somebody asked if there are certain kinds of white paints that you like to use more than others for picking it up, picking the print up.
So I really like the Liquitex Basics white paint, and I also really like the Winsor & Newton. Let me see, like this one, Winsor & Newton. And they are both really, really nice white paints. I don't really like for picking up dried paint from the plate. I'm not really a fan of open paint, and also not really a fan of very fluid paints. So I like it when they are a little bit thicker, not like really heavy body, but a nice little bit thicker, soft body paint really is really nice to pick up the paint. So yeah, so if I would have used too much paint to pick up this layer, then my paper would only have picked up the top layer of the wet paint and would not have been able to also pick up the dried paint that's on the plate. So you might have to need to experiment a little bit with that, finding out how much paint exactly you need to pull up the dried paint. I can't really tell you how much paint you need, because it depends on a lot of things, like which paint you use, how fast it dries, how warm it is in your room, and etc., etc. But in general, I can say that it has to be a really thin layer. So you should be able to already see the dried paint that's on the plate.
Mm-hmm. And then Birgit, there's a follow-up question. Have you tried that technique on fabric? Does it also work on fabric?
I have to admit that I have not tried that. I don't do a lot of fabric printing. I know I did gel printing on fabric, and that is a really nice thing to do, but I can't remember. I don't think that I ever tried picking up dried paint from the plate with fabric. So I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. Maybe there's somebody in the chat who knows and has tried. I don't know if Marcia is there. Marcia might know, but I don't know. But in general, most of the times when people ask me questions like, have you tried this, or have you done that, or would that work? I'm like, just try it. There's not a lot that there's really not a lot that you can do to damage your plate, especially not when it's just with paint and paper and fabric. So just get some scrap paper or some fabric that is cheap or that you don't really need, and just experiment, because the best way to learn what you can do with your jelly plate is doing it and trying it and experimenting. So let's go to the next. Let's do some printing with cardboard. And first I'm going to create a solid background. So I'm going to do a print in which I will not add any texture yet, because that's going to be my background for my second print. And let me see. I'm just going to add some different colors that mix well. So you might think about that when you add the color to your plate. If you are going to make them blend, that you use colors that mix well. So if you don't know which colors blend well, then you might take a look at a color wheel. And in general, you could say that the colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel don't mix well. So that means that yellow and purple don't mix well, orange and blue don't mix well, and red and green don't mix well. So you might want to avoid that. On the other hand, those colors create the nicest contrast. So they are perfect to print on top of each other or next to each other, as long as one of the colors is already dry. So you would not want to print yellow on purple that is still wet, because then it would just mix and create mud. But if the yellow would, for instance, be already dry and you would print on top with purple, then you would actually get a really nice contrast. So this is my first layer. And now I'm going to create texture with my cardboard in contrasting colors and print on top of this one. And this one I am going to dry real quick, because if you have paper with wet paint, it will not pull paint from the plate as well as dry paint. So I want my first layer to be dry before I add my second print. And now this is one of my favorite colors. It's called Permanent Rose. It's really nice, and I really like to mix it a little bit with white. So you create, how do I say that? Create some gradient in the color that is not like one solid color, but it's more alive. I don't know if that makes sense how I say it, but I will just show you. And I'm going to use this big one here that I just pulled part of the top layer off, and show you what happens with the areas where the cardboard has not been removed. So I'm just going to spread my paint on the plate, and I have a little bit too much paint here. I can see it because you get these, like, you can also see it on the brayer, that you get these like as if the paint is threading, as if you get these threads. So I'm just going to brayer off some of the paint. It's better to brayer off some of the paint than to continue, because you will just not get a really nice print. So now I'm going to push this down on my plate and lift it up, and here you can see the areas where the paint has been picked up with the cardboard. And this is what I meant with the extra texture that you create if you leave part of the cardboard on there. So let's also do some on this side. And then I'm going to print straight on top of this one. And so you could totally look at your paint if it's opaque or not. I have not done it for this print, so I'm not really sure how well it will work. Oh, it worked perfectly. So it was pretty opaque, and you get a really really nice second layer. So if you wonder if your paint is opaque, and so you can kind of predict that it will cover your first layer. You can actually see it on the paint tubes, and I will show you how you can see it. So let me get the different ones. So if you have a more professional paint, like for instance Winsor and Newton or Liquitex or Golden, for instance, then you have this little square on the tube, and it tells you whether or not your paint is translucent. So if you have a little square that's open, then you have a really translucent paint. So this is the one that I just used, and you can see in the areas where you just have this one color that it still shows the color underneath, but where I mixed it with the white, it's more opaque, because the white really is opaque. And if you have a little square that is half filled with black, so you have black and white, a little square, then it's how do you call it? So this is transparent. That's how I should say it. This is transparent, where you have nothing in the little square. This is translucent, so it's half transparent, half opaque. And if you have a solid little square like here, then your paint is opaque. So that is how you can see it. I have to say that I don't really look at that. I just look at the color, and if I like it, I make a print. And in general, the prints work out, and sometimes they don't. And that could be because the paint is not opaque, and it should have been opaque. But I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. I'm not really controlling. I really like the surprise when I do gel printing, that I have no idea how my print will look when I pull it up, and then I get this like really nice surprise, because it's even better than I thought. Or sometimes I'm like, okay, well, let's put another layer on top, because this is not exactly what I hoped for. But most of the times I can use my prints anyway for something, like for to die cut from, or as a background for my art journal, or just print more layers on top. Now let's do the egg carton, because that's also fun.
Mhm. So Birgit, can you just remind people how heavy the weight of your paper is that you're printing on? Yeah.
So in Europe, this is 200 grams, and I think that would be 90 pounds in the US. Yeah, I think so. That's what you call it, right? Pounds. LBS.
Yes. Yes. I'm
Okay.
converting it right now. Hold on.
Yeah. So it would be. I think it's 90, and that's 200 grams in Europe. So this would probably also be the heaviest general printer paper. And I think most of the smooth cardstock that is sold in the US, like in paper packs, is 90 pounds, I think. At least the one that Madison has the link from is that weight, I think. Okay. I'm just going to continue printing while Luann is looking at the weight.
Okay, so our normal copy paper is 20 pound here. And our cardstock that we love to print on in the office is a Staples product. It's 110 pound cardstock. So
okay.
It sounds like you're using something in between.
Yeah, probably. But basically, it doesn't really matter. It only matters if you know what you're going to use your prints for. And if you, for instance, really want a heavy, sturdy paper because you want to make a book, then you can choose to print on really heavy paper. But you can print on any paper. It depends on what you use it for. So, for instance, if you want to use your paper as collage material, then you might want to use the lightest paper that you can get, like the lightest copier paper, or you might even want to print on tissue paper or deli paper or parchment paper. And you can also print on watercolor paper or book paper, music paper, magazine paper, whatever you like, as long as you don't print on photo paper, because photo paper has a coating and it sticks to your gel plate. So if you, and then if you try to remove it, it will not come off. So you get this like strange white stuff that's on your gel plate and that won't come off, and that's the coating of the photo paper. So don't use photo paper on your gel plate. But other than that, any paper will work depending on what you want to use it for. So I'm just very random moving my what is it called, a egg carton around to create texture in my background. And now I can just print straight onto my paper. To get this, but I could totally have waited for this to dry and then use a different color to pull the print. Or I could have printed on a sheet that already had some color on it. So let me do that just to show you the difference. So I'm just going to create a solid background again. And I'm going to use the lighter colors here, so I can print with the darker colors on top. You can totally do it the other way around. You can print your first layer in a darker color and then print on top with lighter colors. But then you have to make sure that your lighter colors are opaque, because otherwise you will not get nice bright colors on your print. If you use translucent colors on top of darker colors, then you will still see the darker colors shine through, and then you will not get the brightness of the colors anymore. So if you start gel printing, if you're new to gel printing, I would say start with light colors in your first layer and then do the darker colors on top. And then when you have more feeling about how it works with the layering, then you might change that and experiment a little bit in the order of your colors. So you can see maybe that there are some areas here where some paint showed up that was left over on the plate from my previous print, and I really like that. I usually don't clean my gel plate in between prints, but also not in between printing sessions. So I would have, like, I have another plate here that I used earlier, and it still has leftover paint. So here I printed on tags, and it still has leftover paint from the previous session. And I can show you in the next print how you can just pull that up with your first print in your next printing session, and already get this like distressed feel, this not so perfect. Yeah, adding a little bit more texture and interest to your prints. I like this better than having like a really perfect print in pink and yellow. So I was going to do another layer with the egg carton. So I'm going to add now the darker colors. Although these are, and I just explained that to you, these colors are not even opaque. So this one is a transparent one and this is translucent one, but let's see. That doesn't mean that it cannot work. Sometimes we get some really nice surprises and that we didn't really expect. And sometimes you think you know what will happen and then it turns out totally different. But for me, that's the whole, that just adds to the whole gel printing fun. The fact that it's quite unpredictable and you just have to go with whatever you get. So let's see. Let's just see. I have quite some paint on the plate. It might be that there's some paint left behind, but that's okay. Then we will just make a ghost print. This is not bad. No, this is not bad at all. No, nice. And yes, there is some paint that's left behind. So that will show up in next print. And let me see, what will I use in my next print? Let's do this funny stuff I saved from the bin after construction work. And add another color. And maybe also, again, a little bit of that pretty permanent rose. And this is already dry, so I can just go over it. As you can see, I can just go over it and it will just stay there on the plate. I'm not mixing it with the new paint that I put on there. So now I'm going to put this here and I'm just going to push it down to create that texture. And then when I pick it up, you can already see that there's a nice texture on my plate. And I also want something here. What could we do over there? Let's do the, let's do some bubble wrap, because bubble wrap is always fun. So I'm picking up color there and see, I can even put some of that color back down here in this area. And now I would, there's still quite some paint over there. That's better. Now I would really like to add another color to this, but this is still wet. And if I would go over it now with my brayer and a different color, then I would mix it with the new color. So I have to wait for a little moment for that paint to dry. And meanwhile, I can just do something on this plate, because I wanted to show you what all the leftover paint looks like when you pull it up. So I haven't used any orange today. Let's use some orange. And some yellow. I'm just going to brayer that in that area. And I can also just go over the areas that have already dried and create some texture in there too. I can use the coaster, for instance. That's why I use tape to hold that plate down so it doesn't come up every time I print something on top. Okay, so this now also has to dry. So I'm just putting that aside and I'm going to see. I think that should just be dry enough. And what color should we add to that? I think some yellow would be nice, because I like a rainbow of colors and also some white. And I'm carefully brayering my white paint. First my white and then my yellow, because if I would do the yellow first, the whole plate would just turn yellow instead of some white and some yellow. And hopefully I have the right amount of paint. To pick up all the dried paint underneath. I might have had just a tiny little bit too much here on the yellow side. It needs a little bit more rubbing. But look how pretty that is. Can you see that texture? This fun little backing of the tiles. I didn't try that before and I like it. And here you can see the egg carton. That was the print that was left behind from my previous print, because I had a little bit too much paint there, so I could actually make a ghost print of that. And now let's do this one. That's still a bit wet, so let's do another one on here. I think we still have a couple of minutes. So how about, what didn't we do yet? We didn't try the fruit net. And we also didn't use this is also a fun piece of cardboard that I want to show you, and also the cookie tray. So let's use these three. Just to show you the different textures. So I can just roll out some paint, go over it with my brayer, and there you can see the texture already. Then let's do a nice green one. And some yellow. And try this one. And a nice medium magenta on this side. And to make the color a little bit richer, I will also add a tiny bit of that permanent rose. Too much paint, I have to brayer it off. And there I'm going to use my cookie tray. You have to be a little bit careful if you have like cookie trays or anything that is plastic, that if you have a lot of paint on your plate, it might move. So you have to be a little bit careful that you don't move it too much. And I'm just going to try and see if this still is wet enough to make a direct print. So if I'm not sure if the paint is still wet, I usually just wait until it's completely dry and then use that extra layer to pull the print. But if all the paint is still wet, you can just go ahead and do this like direct print. And I think this was all a little bit thicker layer, so it should still be wet enough.
So Bertha, somebody just asked if you've tried printing on a gesso canvas.
I usually don't print straight onto a canvas, like a canvas that is already on a wooden frame, because in general it will how do I explain that? So it's not sturdy enough to print on because you have that wooden frame. So you would have to put the canvas on top of your gel plate. Of course, you can do that, but then I would say just print on a loose canvas and then frame it later. And or you could do it on a canvas panel, like that. It's like on a sturdy background.
Yes. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thanks.
Okay. And then this one, let's print this one. Let me see. White, some white. Should we add another color there? Maybe a little bit of pink. Let's just do that. And here's also still some paint left that I can pull and clean my plate. So this is a little bit of leftover paint that didn't pull from this print, but also can be like a really nice background, like a first layer for a card or in your art journal or whatever you want to use it for. And I think that I left that too long, so it's not wet enough. Therefore, I'm adding a little bit more of that white paint. And hopefully I didn't put too much paint on there now, and you actually get to see me pulling that those leftover edges from that print that I made several days ago. Because it really doesn't matter how long the paint is on the plate. If it's dry, it's dry. And if you use the right amount of paint, you will be able to pull it. Not as I just did. You can see I didn't even pull the paint that I just applied there a couple of minutes ago, because I put too much of the white paint on there, and I did that because I thought the white paint was already drying. So that can happen. Still, I can totally use this print in my art journal, and maybe in my next print I actually can pull this up. You can even see if I touch it with my fingers that the paint is still wet, that's left behind, which means that my layer was way too thick. So let's try and use a different color to pull that print. And see if I can, if it's not still too thick, the white paint that was left behind. And it's not that like I always get my gel plates really clean with doing this. Sometimes I need other ways to clean my plate. If I want to do a specific technique and I need a clean plate, I might totally use baby oil to clean the plate or use some clear tape to clean the plate. But as you can see, I'm pulling off quite a lot of the paint that was still on there. And doesn't this look like peeled paint? Like a really nice distressed background. And these are the fun and nice surprises you get from gel printing. You can totally not do it on purpose. You cannot do this on purpose. This happens. This can happen when you pull up leftover dried paint from your plate, and you get these like happy coincident printing.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Birgit, people are loving the blue. What color of blue was that again?
Oh yeah, that's next to the permanent rose, my second favorite color, and it's called Prussian Blue U or UE. I don't know how you pronounce it. Hue. I would love to know. U? Yes.
Hue.
Okay. U. Prussian Blue U. So that's my second favorite color, and then this is also one of my favorites. That's the deep turquoise. So I think we only have a few minutes left, so maybe I can just just answer some questions if there are any questions. Any more questions?
So we've had so many questions, but I think the team has done a great job of answering. But there was one in the very beginning that somebody said, is it difficult to be creative on demand as you're doing these classes?
No, not really, because this is something that I do a lot, and I just do it the same way as I would do it when I do the printing for myself. I mean, this is not something that I only occasionally do. I do this like almost every week, printing with found material and recycle material. So it's not that I'm creating something now, right? I'm just printing, and I know how to print. So in that matter, it's not that difficult now. So maybe I can just quickly show what I do with my prints, because a lot of time people ask, so then you have all these prints and what do you do with them? So I make books out of them usually. So a lot of paper is going to be collage paper. So I don't know, you can't see my hands anymore, right? But sheets like this would probably become background paper in my art journal, and I sometimes make my own art journals, and then I have these like gel printed backgrounds that I work on top, and they can also become collage material that I then use to die cut. So on this page, for instance, that I just showed, I cut hearts from gel prints, and then also I use the negative on my art journal page, and the background is also a gel print. And I also do a lot of printing on tags, and then I create these little tag books that are also kind of mini journals that I just work in. Later they become the gel prints become the backgrounds in my art journals. And you can totally use them for card making. You can create your own paper for scrapbooking, for mini books. There's so many possibilities. And you can totally find a lot of inspiration on the Gelli Arts YouTube channel about what you can do with your gel prints. And then talking about inspiration, what I wanted to say is there are more Zoom classes and Facebook Lives coming up. So tomorrow, Tanya will be on the Gelli Arts Facebook page doing a jelly tally with Luann and Tracy, if I'm right. And then next week, Marcia is doing a Facebook Live. And in May, we have Tanya doing a Zoom class for Michaels, in which she is printing on shrink plastic and making jewelry out of it. Really, really nice class that you don't want to miss. Probably already on the Michaels website for you to find. That's on May 3. And then on May 17, I will be back here on the Michaels website with a gel printing class with pen pastel. And so lots more of inspiration coming. I enjoyed this very much. I hope you did too. And I hope to see you again next time for the next Zoom class. Thank you for being here.